Today, we're diving deep into a really big topic in the cloud and AI world, so-called data sovereignty. We're going to peel back the layers on how some seriously reassuring marketing can hide a much more complicated reality. And to do that, we're going to look at a real-world case study, a company called Artific, to see exactly where the marketing promises end and the legal reality begins.
Okay, so picture this. You're a European business, you need an AI partner, and you come across this promise in a white paper. Your data will be hosted in the Netherlands. I mean, that's perfect, right? It's exactly what you want to hear. It sounds safe, local, and totally compliant with all those strict EU data laws. But is that the whole story?
Because, as we're about to find out, the story that legally matters is almost never on the shiny homepage. Nope. It's buried in the fine print, the data processing agreements. And that's where our investigation really kicks off.
All right, so let's start with the image they're trying to project. Artibus positions itself as this perfect, ideal solution for any business that cares about privacy. They're secure, they're GDPR compliant, and they're proudly Dutch. On the surface, it really does tick all the right boxes.
I mean, just look at these claims. Hosted on Dutch soil. Check. A solid guarantee of being 100% GDPR-proof? Love it. They even say they have their own Artific private engine. It all sounds so incredibly robust, like a self-contained fortress for your data. But, when a sovereign solution seems a little too good to be true, it often points to a really crucial concept we need to get our heads around.
So to really understand what's happening here, we need to define a key term. And this isn't just your garden variety cloud washing. It's a very specific kind of marketing tactic that really preys on our concerns about data privacy.
It's called sovereign cloud washing. Basically, it's the practice of putting a nice European wrapper on a service, marketing it as local and totally sovereign, while underneath, the core engine is still being run by massive US tech giants, the hyperscalers like Google, Amazon, and Microsoft. It's a clever appeal to our desire for data privacy, so let's look under the hood.
To find out what's really going on, we need to do something not nearly enough of us actually do. We have to ignore the glossy white paper and go straight to the legally binding contract. That's the Data Processing Agreement, or DPA. Let's see how those promises hold up, shall we? And boom, there it is, our first major red flag. It's a subtle change in language, but it is absolutely critical. The marketing makes a concrete promise. Your data will be hosted here. That's a guarantee. But the contract? It only promises an effort. Artist strives to keep it here. Believe me, in the legal world, a promise and an effort are two completely different universes.
And as you dig deeper into the contract, you realize this isn't just a one-off thing. It's a pattern. That GDPR-proof claim, it's marked as incorrect because the contract actually forces you to consent to US subprocessors. And full transparency, well, that's limited to just 7 days to object to a new data processor. Good luck getting your legal team to move that fast. And that artificial private engine, turns out it's not really an engine that does the heavy lifting. It's more of a gateway that just routes your data to others who do.
So who are these others? Where is your data actually going? Well, the contract's appendix tells all. This is where we find the list of companies that Artifix can send your data to. And folks, this right here is the smoking gun. And there they are. OpenAI, Google's Vertex AI, Perplexity AI, LangChain, all of them based right in the United States. All of a sudden, that 100% Dutch promise starts to look very, very different, doesn't it? The core AI work is fundamentally dependent on American hyperscalers. 4. That's the number of American tech giants with potential access to your supposedly Dutch data. And this immediately raises a massive legal question, because even if your data is sitting on a server in Europe, it doesn't mean it's safe from another country's laws. This is the point where you might be thinking, okay, but if the server is physically located in the Netherlands, isn't my data still protected by EU law? And that's a totally reasonable question, but it's based on a common and frankly dangerous misconception. The physical location of a server is not the legal fortress you might think it is. And this is why. It's called the U.S. Cloud Act. In simple terms, this law allows U.S. authorities to force American tech companies to hand over any data they control. And this is the important part. It doesn't matter if that data is on a server in California or in a data center in Amsterdam. Let's just walk through exactly how this works. Step 1. Your data is on a Google server in the Netherlands. Step 2. That server is owned and operated by Google, an American company. Step 3. A U.S. court orders Google to produce that data. Step 4. Under U.S. law, Google has to comply.
And the final, critical step is number 5. The physical location of that server in Europe provided absolutely zero legal protection against this demand. So the bottom line is this, and it's the most important thing to remember. When it comes to data, legal jurisdiction follows the ownership of the company, not the physical location of the hardware. If a U.S. company controls your data, U.S. law can apply. Simple as that.
Okay, so after all of that, what are you supposed to do? How can you cut through all this marketing fog and actually protect your business? Well, thankfully, this analysis provides a clear, actionable checklist you can use for your own due diligence. Here's what you can do. First, always go beyond the marketing hype and read the fine print, especially that appendix that lists the sub-processors. Second, demand a real guarantee. If you see vague language like strives to, insist that it gets changed to a legally binding guarantees. Third, question what their private engine really does. Ask them straight up, is it a router or is it a true processor? Then verify the entire data chain, not just one part. And finally, if you're dealing with sensitive data, just insist on removing all sub-processors that fall under non-EU jurisdiction, period. And all of this leaves us with one final, critical question to think about. After all the marketing, after the sales pitch is over, when you send your data into the cloud, do you really know whose hands it's in? Do you know who truly has control? Just asking that question is the first and most important step.